Seth Kaplan is managing partner at Airline Weekly and joins us now. Seth, I'm glad you made it in. A lot of people, they had hundreds of flights canceled. So if you're traveling this holiday season, what can we do to avoid those issues?
Yeah, Eric, these days when you see that dreaded word in red letters, canceled, airlines do a pretty good job of finding us the next available seat to the same airport where we're traveling. But, what if you're flexible? What if, you're flying to New York LaGuardia, but you don't mind going to Newark or JFK if that at least gets you near where you're going sooner than you otherwise would? Tell the airline because they won't assume that. Another thing, make sure they have your contact information so when you get that text or that phone call, hey, call us, you could do it as soon as possible. And beyond that, technology is great, these mobile boarding passes, but keep a paper copy of your itinerary because sometimes when things go wrong, they go very wrong, and you want to have that paper record.
So what if you get to the airport and they say the flight's canceled and you can't get someplace? I mean, you're lying there on the carpet. So what can you do then? What are our rights when it comes to, the ticket can get a refund, or what is the airline obligated to do?
Yeah, well, first of all, sometimes the gate agent will say, go over there, stand in that long line of people at the customer service counter. If they tell you that, definitely get in that line, but call the airline as well. You're competing with everybody else for very few empty seats, and whatever you can do to reach the airline, whether it's in person or on the phone more quickly, gives you the better shot at that seat. Airlines, as you say, do have certain obligations. Unfortunately, when it's weather related, they're off the hook for a lot of it, but they will be flexible at least about letting you change your plans. Again, though, it all depends on there being that empty seat to where you're going, or at least close to where you're going.
And other little tricks that you can use. One time we did a story, we flew on Christmas. No one was on the flight. I mean, can you do that and move your itinerary a bit to try to avoid that incredible mad rush?
Yeah, Eric, even that is getting more difficult than usual. That used to be the old trick. Exactly. People would say, hey, everybody wants to fly on Wednesday, but fly on Thanksgiving. Nobody's flying that day. But nowadays, what airlines have done is, they've realized, okay, well, if there's less demand for travel today, Thanksgiving, than there was yesterday, why fly the same schedule? So basically, it's all an effort to basically keep fares up. It's just like, McDonald's knows not as many people want to eat hamburgers one day. They won't make as many hamburgers. Airlines are saying, you know what, let's not put as many seats in the air. So that does two things. One thing is, for them, it keeps the fares up, but it also means there aren't as many empty seats today. And so those people who were on canceled flights yesterday aren't finding a whole day full of empty seats today, just as they would in the old days. Airlines really playing with basic supply and demand economics. It's good for them, not always good for consumers.
And Seth, finally, I've always tried to figure out when they cancel these flights, I mean, it's like everyone's backed up. How do they get going? I mean, because the next day, you got people on those flights that are booked.
Exactly. And that's one where the picture is kind of mixed. One thing airlines do now that's very different from in the old days, they used to just try to fly as long as they could. And when the storm hit, you had all these planes and people stranded everywhere. Well, you might remember the government actually changed the rules a few years ago. They have this tarmac delay rule where airlines can be fined literally millions of dollars for one plane load of people stranded away from the gate for more than 3 hours. So airlines have said, we're going to do anything possible to avoid that. So what they do is they proactively cancel hundreds, sometimes thousands of flights to avoid the possibility of that. So the upshot is that you don't see as many of those really terrible situations anymore, that one plane load full of people that we hear about, but they actually end up inconveniencing more people than before, albeit in a smaller way.
At least that way you're not delayed, even if it's canceled. All right, Seth Kaplan,
exactly.
Thank you so much for joining us, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, Eric.